Wow.
Hello and welcome to the Abroad Japan podcast. Probably the best way of learning about life in Japan without actually being in Japan. I'm your host Chris Broad, and we're joined as always by England's top Japan enthusiast, Mr. Pete Donaldson himself. Pete, how the devil are you doing?
I'm good, Chris. I've had very little sleep. We're both in Japan at this moment in time, and
Still jet lagged.
Still jet lagged. Woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Didn't really have anywhere to go or any sort of abilities to leave because we're halfway up the side of a big bloody mountain in Nikko, and so I've mainly been watching instructional DIY TikToks on online since 4 a.m. So well done me, and well done jet lag. The Jisaboke of Japan.
Jisaboke, it's a useful word to know if you come to Japan. Jisaboke, jet lag. So we're in Nikko, and as you can tell, we're not in the studio today.
No.
If you're watching this on YouTube. And Nikko, first time here for me, for you. Natsuki, I thought it was the first time. He was like, no, I've been to Nikko, and so he's been our little tour guide. And we looked at the Toshogu Shrine, the shrine for Tokugawa Ieyasu, the most powerful ruler in Japanese history, one of the three men that unified, brought the country together. Pretty impressive.
It was very impressive. The colours of the wooden sort of carvings and stuff. There were so many sort of like fantastical weird animals that weren't necessarily existing in real life. There was like mad elephants. A man had sort of made up because he'd never seen an elephant before, and he carved. Imagine the confidence. It's proper like what's that kind of effect that you is it Dunning-Kruger effect where you kind of
test.
Well, a Dunning-Kruger effect where you are promoted far past surpassing your kind of skill base, and you're just so kind of arrogant. You sort of go, I'll do an elephant for you. Never seen an elephant. I've done an atrocious job on it. It looks terrible.
It did look like somebody was very drunk, just went, I'll do an elephant for you, don't worry. I know what I'm doing.
But it's fascinating to learn about all the other kind of like figment of the imagination animals, like the what's the one on the side of the beer can that I was obsessed with?
The Kirin.
The Kirin. I've seen that rotten little chimeric monster before, but I never really sort of gave it a second glance. Really, I just thought it was just silly Chinese kind of fantasy. But it's got all kinds of. It's got like the body of a deer, the tail of a cow, and rather unhelpfully, the forehead of the wolf. Now,
I've never actually looked at the Kirin like animal on the.
Never look at it. Right? It's a mess. It's an absolute mess.
The drunker you get, the more weird it gets. So next time you've got a Kirin like bottle or can in your hand, look at the creature. It is trippy. It is scary. It's almost as screwed up as the elephants. But a lovely place, old Tokugawa Ieyasu's.
He's chosen a lovely place to reunify Japan, hasn't he, really? I mean, it's kind of like just, it's 5 or 6 absolutely World Heritage Site level kind of temples and stuff, and they've done lovely. Even the stable that he had for his famous horse.
He's got a stable for his favourite horse, who came into battle with him and fought many battles, and there's a stable there covered in monkeys. But it's really cool. And what I learned from Natsuki, who was very useful to us on our trip, he gave us some Japanese knowledge, and that is the reason they put the shrine here was it was northeast of Tokyo, Edo at the time, and it was said to protect kind of from the evil spirits that come from the northeast.
Right.
Some sort of weird mythology where the northeast equals bad.
The Sapporoians, or maybe even the Russians, or maybe even just Natsuki in Sakata.
Natsuki himself is from the northeast, so it's like, it was to protect against you now.
Being from the northeast myself of England, I mean, I just think it's just absolutely grotesque, this anti-northeast bias and kind of xenophobia. It's absolutely disgraceful, quite frankly.
Up in northeast England. But it was really good. What a lot of people don't know is Tokugawa Ieyasu isn't actually buried there.
Right.
All that effort, all that incredible shrine, and he's not even buried there.
That's disgraceful.
I know, right?
He's an absolute trickster. He's a confidence trickster is what he is.
They kind of don't mention anywhere, by the way, he's not buried here. I think they kind of want to not tell anyone, because it looks good for them, right? Yeah.
Do you think he sort of slipped his way down the mountain in a sort of Toyota Freelander like we did to get himself a Cuban sandwich and was never seen again? That's kind of how we spent the afternoon, just eating Cuban sandwiches. It's a quintessentially Japanese sandwich, a Cuban sandwich, which I believe was invented in Florida, as you found out.
Indeed, if you go to Nikko, the food you want is the historic Cuban sandwich, and we also had yubiwa, which is the tofu skin, which is like the actual dish there, so have that.
I mean, some of us had. You ate basically a chicken croquette.
I did eat a lot. But it was good. No, Nikko so far, really nice. We've got one more day left here. Beautiful town, big fan. But we got Story of the Week.
Yep.
And this week's story comes hot off the hills from...
Hot off the hills or hot off the heels?
From hot off the hills. Hot off the hills.
Yeah, we're on the hill.
Alicia.
Yeah.
We're on a hill. And I'm rather hot on the hill right now. Hello, Cheery Chris and Peppy Pete. My best friend and I went to Japan for the first time in 2018 and overall had an amazing time.
Lovely.
However, there was one experience that has been recommended to us by several other visitors and YouTubers that fell massively short. That wasn't Nico's Cuban sandwiches.
No, never.
After exploring the electric city of Akihabara, we become pretty hungry and we're approached by a girl dressed in a Maid outfit.
That'll happen around there.
It does happen, a lot more than it used to, telling us about a nearby Maid cafe. I said to my friend that there were several videos on YouTube that recommended it as a must-see, so we decided to give it a try for lunch. When we got inside, there was a mix of tourists dotted around a large table in front of the stage that was filled with semi-drunk Japanese businessmen. We sat down, looked at the menu, and one of the maids eagerly pointed out the different packages, all hugely overpriced. Clearly, we'd fallen into a tourist trap, but we decided to stay due to our hunger and our curiosity. We picked the package that seemed best value for two, lunch and a photo with the maids, with an optional singing performance, my favourite. It was such an odd experience though. We had to wait ages for the food, the maid gimmick got very annoying after a while, and the Japanese businessman kept getting louder and louder and more boisterous by the minute. We didn't end up staying for the performance, and they put performance in quotation marks, as the whole experience was getting too disappointing. When we went to pay, we were then shocked, at the 28,000 yen bill, aka $180.
Right.
After some back and forth, they reduced the bill. Supposedly, they double charged us by mistake. Whoa.
Oh, those crazy maids. They're too young to figure out the sums. They're too maidy.
You should start doing that at Lost Bar. Oh, we've double charged you by accident. What are the odds?
We've stolen your wallet by absolute mistake.
That's pretty sketchy, though, isn't it? Anyway,
it is a little bit, yeah.
That's pretty sketchy. They clearly think they can get away with it because people don't check. We left the whole experience feeling very unsatisfied. I started to question why so many people have said it's a must-try experience. Did we stumble upon the worst Maid cafe in Tokyo? Have you ever had a bad experience like this that was recommended to you by multiple people? What must-try Japanese experience should be avoided, in your opinion?
I mean, I would say that like a lot of mid cafes, they're not particularly like pushy. They're just present and loud. And so the people who are kind of pushy, you just sort of go, I mean, is that really in the spirit of it, I suppose? I mean, I think with what I need out of a mid cafe is literally the Chisaboke time difference cafe where everyone's just a bit sleepy. We all get pillows. No coffees allowed. No drinks or anything. Just a nice Cuban sandwich and a pillow to sleep on.
That sounds pretty good. You know what? I've never to this day been in a Maid cafe.
No, me neither. I find it all very... I find getting waited on at the best of times being problematic, but I think sort of having like... it just all feels a bit problematic, doesn't it?
I'm not doing it.
Bit rich from us, isn't it?
Don't go there. Don't do it. But no, I can't recommend a Maid cafe. I recommend the Cuban sandwich shop as you get off the train at Nickel.
Yeah.
And also don't go go-karting. That's one thing you've seen, right?
I've seen it like 3 or 4
times. We were walking through Shibuya and we saw like 4 go-karts.
There's so many go-karts sort of floating around. Also, like, so like that will never die, it seems, until somebody actually dies.
Well, yeah, it's come close a few times, right?
But I think I saw a fire engine for the first time, I think, in a long time in Japan, and I forget they have like a little hype man hanging out the window, apologising and saying thank you for people getting out of the way of them and stuff. They get like a fella with like a loud hailer going, "Hello, we're going to turn left here. Thank you very much for letting us through. Goodbye, sorry." It's just so polite.
It's like a running commentary as they come through.
Yeah.
Kind of unnecessary.
We are the enemy of fire. If you've got a fire, we'll put it out.
Less focused on saving lives.
Yes,
and not
exactly.
Commentating on the journey itself.
We've got a new story, Chris.
Hey.
Yeah, let's do it. Deer attacks. You know deers in Nara Park?
I do.
Very much the place to be when it comes to visiting Japan, in Japan's ancient capital, Nara. The local government has issued a warning to visitors due to a rise in injuries from the park's resident deer. Nara Park is home to around 1,500 free-roaming deer, and some of the most famous landmarks in Nara, you do find a deer sort of rolling around, just kind of bowing, begging for crackers, all kinds of stuff. But 5 deers got a bit, as they would say in the northeast, raj-packeted up the northeast way. And the 5 deers attacked some unlucky tourists last year. It's up this year to 35.
35 attacks?
35 deer attacks in Nara.
You've seen the video recently. There was a video of a deer literally like chasing down a girl. I think it was a girl or a boy, I don't know. They were young, doesn't matter. But they were a kid.
Yeah.
And they were like properly sprinting away. And the deer was really going for them. It headbutted them.
Right.
They flew off over a wall. It was really like full on. Like it made me not want to go to Nara.
No, that's
the
absolutely
experience
wild.
that awaits.
Well, yeah, exactly. And also, there's signs up in English, Chinese, Korean, and even in Japanese basically saying, don't stress the deers out because they will attack. You've been treating people with like sort of gouged legs and stuff like that. But Kevin Short, a naturalist and former professor of cultural anthropology at Tokyo University of Information Sciences, noted that the deer have become completely used to humans, so now they have no fear at all, and they know that the humans have the food source that they want, basically. But in July, there was footage of a deer being kicked by one of the tourists. So maybe this is some kind of like gang warfare, deers versus humans.
Deer revenge.
Yeah, very much so. But
don't mess with the deer.
No, I mean, you've filmed with the deer on countless occasions, surely, and you've kind of filmed here and there around.
I've never been attacked by one though.
No, okay, well, you're a friend to all animals.
Well, I don't drop
YouTube
kick deer.
Generation. You don't drop kick anyway. But so apparently one of the four gods of Katsuga Shrine arrived in the city in the year 768 on a white deer, and ever since the deers have just been knocking around, and now they're taking revenge. So if you're in Nara this sort of winter, do watch out for the deer. They are not to be trifled with.
Just treat them with respect.
Treat them. Don't kick them.
Give them some crackers.
It's the last thing you should do to a deer, for crying out loud.
Give them crackers. I mean, they will get their crackers one way or another.
Yeah, exactly. They'll take it out of your bone marrow.
Yeah. No, I mean, the deer in Nara, I don't mind them. It's the deer in Miyajima that I care about. They're the ones that like ripped my clothes to pieces when I stayed there.
Yeah.
And I wasn't that happy about that. But no, the deer are cool.
Leave them alone.
Leave them alone. Don't kick them. There was a lot of confusion over why this man was kicking the deer.
Right.
To this day, we don't know why.
There was some beef. Maybe the deer had already pre-kicked or pre-bitten or pre-gored the man, and he was just trying to get his own back, I suppose. Some disgusting revenge.
But go down there, enjoy the deer. Just keep an eye out for the crazy one that will headbutt you and kill you. I love the way they wait for traffic to stop, though. They cross the roads across the park, and the cars come to a stop, and they like bow and they cross.
And they've got like little sort of wet sprays to cool them down in the summer months, which is absolutely lovely. And I've enjoyed myself under those sprays on more than one occasion.
I think that the deer of Nara conduct themselves in a manner better than most British people.
Yes, completely agree. Certainly better than Johnny Somali. Anyway.
Absolutely. The Somali of deer. All right. We're back in just a moment, guys, with your stories, comments and questions over in the fax machine.
Wow.
Dear Pete and Dear Only, this is from Jenny. Yeah, Dear.
Ooh.
Fits from the previous Dear-related stories. I recently completed my first trip to Japan, a whirlwind 2-week sprint through Tokyo, Hakone and Kyoto. Didn't mention Nara or anything. I want your advice, because I want to become Florida's top Japan enthusiast. These upcoming trips won't be as long, just the standard US week of vacation. When you do go to Japan, do you tend to focus on one area and dig in, or do you try and hit loads of different cities? I want to be staying in Ueno next time. I want to see Akihabara and stuff like that. But the lure of jumping on a bullet train to Osaka is also there. Thank you, Jenny, for your message. I will say that this week I've spent 6 days, I think, in Japan, and unless you know Chris Broad, who will drag you up to the mountains at the moment's notice, I think staying in sort of Tokyo for a week is absolutely fine. I think you get to see everything you can.
I don't know. I mean, look, you can spend fucking a year in Tokyo, as I've done, and still see like nothing.
10% of it, yeah.
I would recommend going. I mean, I don't really like Tokyo that much. It's cool, it's alright, but I'm a countryside person. Coming out here to Nikko did me a world of good.
Yeah.
I got out here, stumbled around, looked at some monkey carvings, and I felt renewed.
Surprisingly warm out here as well.
It's quite warm. But it's lovely. We're only 2 hours north of Tokyo here. And that's the thing, right? You can get away from Tokyo to somewhere magical, like Nikko, like Mount Fuji, like Mount Takao, in like 2 hours, right?
Yeah.
So
really,
bear that in mind.
really.
You can get out, enjoy the good stuff. We got a question from Jay from Texas, who says, "Greetings, Chris and Pete. I found abroad in Japan, 5 months ago, and somewhere between Journey Across Japan and the Cyclothon, I decided to add cycling, the Shimanami Kaido, to my bucket list. I'm nowhere near ready for this, both physically and financially, but it's something I'd like to do in the next 2 to 3 years. How much Japanese, spoken and written, should I learn in preparation for this trip?" I mean, you don't really need any Japanese for the Shimanami Kaido, you know.
No. It's pretty well sort of signposted.
Yeah, and I would say it's not even that hard, right? First time I did it, I was pretty out of weight. I was pretty out of whack, pretty out of shape. And I pulled it off, but it was very hot. It was very sunny, so just don't do it in summer. But you'll be good. Don't need any Japanese.
No,
so don't worry about that.
Final fax machine?
Very slowly, I'll get it up on screen. While Shabu Donaldson.
Don't drop my phone onto that table, it's very fragile.
Hello, Cantankerous Chris and Preposterous Pete. He's quite preposterous. My friends and I are planning our first trip to Japan following our graduation in May, and we currently have a 10-day route planned out. Tokyo, Kyoto, Osaka, Nara, Kobe, Tokyo. Again, some of us have to head back home after this, but the rest of us have an extra week to explore before flying back to Tokyo. Any suggestions for where to go or what to do? Yash from Chicago. You're in luck, Yash, because in the next few days, you've got a brand new video coming out called 21 Days in Japan, which is just for folks like you.
Wow.
Interesting locations, off the beaten track that most people avoid and don't know. So keep an eye out for that video. That'll do all the heavy lifting for you.
Fun people as well. Fun people getting involved.
Fun people. And we did go to Kurashiki, the Venice of Japan.
Awesome.
Which you've not been to, right?
No. And right now, we're heading back to Tokyo.
Yes.
Eventually.
That's the end of the show, though, guys. Keep the stories, questions, comments coming in to Abroad in Japan podcast at gmail.com. We'll be back next week, providing we survive this experience.
It's a very warm studio. If you are listening on the audio version of the Abroad in Japan podcast, you can watch everything that happens on the show via YouTube. So head over there and just search for Abroad in Japan podcast.
Yeah.
And drink it in.
Yeah. And this will be the last time I do it in this particular setting.
Studio.
I think my body content is 1% water right now.
Yep.
It's going to be a rough day ahead. But for now,
Picari sweat?
Picari sweat time. All the Picari sweat. Oh!